started recording. So, Colorado. Oh, great. Now we can't see her. I said, when it's time, move it.
It's drunk.
Apparently. Evidently. So, Crossroads Annex got started. We're new. We're young. I have some of the young'uns come in who are littles, and they ask, where's the mascot?
Logical.
And I'm like, what mascot? The library's mascot. And so we kind of sat blinking for a little bit as I was aggressively informed that the library needs a mascot. I mentioned this to a crocheter in our community, and they have created a mascot for the library.
Don't be drunk. Okay.
So, if you would raise the bag. It's a bookworm.
Or a book dragon, depending on how you want to look at it.
I think worm's supposed to be spelled W-Y-R-M.
Well, you know, there are legends about the worm, especially in Scotland.
It's true.
The dragon himself is in leather pride colors. The crocheter had to invent a book pattern in crochet because there weren't any.
It worked.
I was stunned when I got to see it. I was thrilled.
What am I going to name you? Let's talk about this.
But the fur can be combed. She made sure that it was going to be highly durable for any littles and or masters who end up picking it up and wandering around with it. She is also making one for the Crossroads Annex that is going to be rainbow based, and is willing to work on making them for any other annexes that would like their own version, or have littles that are telling them they will have their own version as well.
Are you going to grow into it? Of course you're going to grow into a dragon. That's a silly question. You're a book dragon. Actually, you're a book baby dragon. What's your name? What is your name? Yes, you'll tell me eventually.
Dragons can be stubborn on their names.
You'll tell me eventually, won't you? You are. I'm going to have scone your beard. You're looking a little bit sloppy. Much better. Hold on.
Unfortunately, brown bag transporting's a little rough on the fur.
Much better. Now you look much neater. You are adorable. Are you waiting for some young one to come in so that you can give them a book? I think so. I think so. We will be discussing your name, your jellicle name, and your real name. Whoever created him, birth mother, I suppose I should say, and the books that young dragon sits on is really actually quite remarkable. Huh. Is really quite remarkable. Do you have toes yet? Are you old enough to have toes? No, you're still a baby. You're still a baby. You are quite a remarkable baby. You know, it's funny. Katerina, made a post about, I believe it was the word hoard, in terms of holding on to treasure and so on. And that librarians were actually book dragons. Because it's not that we hoard, we collect until the right person comes along, that we choose to say, yes, you are worthy of coming in and sitting on the hoard with me. Yes, your ears are now perfect again. What is your name, little dragon? No, I'm not your mother. I'm your babysitter. My job is to find you more books to read.
We all call her Mama. It's okay.
It's true.
You know, this could be the beginning of a very interesting story, especially for our littles. Do you want to watch the door? Where in the library would you like to be home? Are you going to watch the door? Are you going to watch the rare Book Wyrm? Mm-hmm. You could just sit on the fireplace, you know. It already keeps you warm. Dragons don't really need fireplaces. They are creatures of fire. This is going to be the beginning of a very interesting story. Especially for our littles. He is adorable until he changes gender. Which is probably the reason for the crown. I have to get you a brush, you know that. Who is the miraculous creator who knitted that crow?
Her name is Scarlet.
You really are all crocheted, Jesus
Uh-huh.
Christ.
And she lives in Denver.
You really are quite amazing.
She was recommended to me by Girl J, actually.
You are quite amazing. Oh, the story that will be starting with you. But we're going to have to find out what your name is. It's really miraculously well made.
She made him excessively sturdy, knowing that he may end up going many miles and being handled by many hands as he is cuddled and books are read. And he can actually lift up a little bit from the books too, if he needs to be a little more attentive.
Really remarkably well made. Not only that, as funny as this sounds, he makes a great book stand. Right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would work. Gonna be a very useful dragon too.
There is a beginning of a great story here for the littles.
Well, I knew we couldn't let the littles down when they told me that we were missing a mascot.
Did I ever tell you the story of how Littles in the Library started?
Mm-mm.
It has to be 11 years ago, 11 or 12, at the first Floating World, which was held at one of the big conference centers in Jersey, and this thing was ginormous. Now, most of the activities were on one side of the building, and they had a whole lot of things going on in the middle. Play spaces, dungeons, a little area, pony area, puppy area. But this thing was huge. Now, the library is set up at one end, and there is a, small coffee shop and, foods and things, finger foods, all the way at the other.
Oh no!
Okay. Now, we were getting ready for second day, which means we were there at about 7:30, making sure everything was ready because they actually opened at 9. So, Mama needed Java badly. So I'm making what is essentially about 100-yard walk from one end to the other. And there was a Little's area there, and there were 3 or 4 youngins in it. And the little girl stands up, and she's trying to hold on to her stuffy, something that she was coloring and something else, hops right in my way while still trying to figure out where she's going to put all of this, and stomps her foot, looks at me and says, "When is there going to be Little's time in the garden?" Okay, garden's outside. When is there going to be, we'll tell you, maybe we'll tell you stories. Okay, can we have Little's time in the library too? Now, please understand, this is my pre-coffee soaked brain. And this child would not move. I go to step around her, she moved in front of me. I go the other way, she moves in front of me. And she just kept stomping her foot and going, "When is there going to be Little's time?" And so I would have at that point probably promised the world, all of my children, my dog, everything, because Mama needed Java. And I said, how about we set it up for, that was Sunday afternoon. Okay, and then she just sat right back down. I got my coffee, I'm on the way back. I have had enough in my face to realize maybe I ought to avoid that area. And so I went around through the puppies, and somehow she saw me and she screams, "You promised!" And so I get back to the library. I told, I think, Jackie Griot what had happened. And she goes, "Oh, Mom, you did it now." I sit down, I finish my coffee, and suddenly I realize, what did I just promise? I'm not sure what I just promised. Holy. Okay, so I'm now trying to figure out what I am going to have someone read while trying to figure out exactly what all of this entails. So I go running off to Lolita, who is one of my favorite Littles, and she says, "Well, you're going to need coloring books and crayons and..." Okay. So I sent Robbie running to the dollar store, and we found, like the 2 8 crayon packs for $1. Bought about 10 of them, and a coloring book, or like 6 or 7. So, okay, now at least I have like 4 weeks to plan. Went home, went through some of my favorite coloring books by artists that I like, while trying to remember, okay, I'm dealing with kinky Littles, but I'm also still dealing with Littles, so I had to find the right art to put together a little coloring book. We got more crayons. And then I said, well, if we're going to do this, okay, need to grab some of the very light manga cartoons and some other things, and I posted Little's time for 1 hour in the library. No bigs allowed. Bring your pajamas and your pillows. So it was the first Little's time we ever had. One big in the library, me. Understanding as you come in, you will be on good manners, right? Your mommy taught you? Yes. Okay. So there were me, brought down some cereal. My husband brought down some cereal. We had orange juice. They were very careful. Got to color and have cartoon hour in the library in the morning. And it kind of became a tradition at the larger events where we knew Little's time had already been set aside. There were little play areas. So it kind of became a tradition in the library that somebody would at least read one story.
Uh-huh.
And then at another event, things went a little sideways because Cruella DeVille decided that she was going to be the one to read the Littles a story. Kind of interesting. Full Cruella makeup, and she read the Littles a story. And when she scared them, the other big had to, step in and defend them. And somewhere in the library, in the art room, I have a check from the Littles as a thank you on the Bank of Littles for, I think it's like 10 million Littles books.
Aww.
And we still have it, and it's been almost a decade. Actually, it's been almost a decade since they wrote me that check.
That's epic.
So it looks like they're finally going to get a book. Right after we figure out your name. Actually, much better view.
Yes, with his cute little eyes that are either pre-Java or happily staring into your soul. I'm not sure which.
They're pre-Java, I can tell. So we're going to have to make you a cup of... You are too young for coffee. What do dragons drink first thing in the morning?
Yeah, my dragons think that too. Or
What do dragons
disbelieve
drink first thing in the morning?
that. Ours, caffeine.
Yeah,
As much of
they'll
the
steal
liquid
ours if we
caffeine.
don't pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Little
You look
leaves.
awfully young to be drinking coffee. Well, maybe we'll add extra cream to yours.
Hot cocoa, maybe?
Much better. Hot cocoa.
Then they just get the sugar rush.
Much better choice. Hot cocoa. You have hot cocoa? I'll have coffee. Maybe I'll just nickname you Coco until you tell me what your name is. And you have a brother to meet upstairs. You've never met Blizzle.
Mm-mm.
Blizzle was a gift to me from one of our artists. Danielle had been showing me some of her art, and I had fallen in love with it. And there's an interesting story behind Danielle because of the name that she draws under. And being a fan of furry art, and being on Fursona and a number of other art sites, because I'm always looking for young artists that we can sponsor in the library. I come across some of Rebel Savant's art, and I was really quite fond of it. You've seen one of the exhibits that I did for Danielle in the library.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to a member of the community, and we were laughing and yakking about something. And somehow we got onto the conversation of furry art. They were looking at some of the comics that we had, and I have furry comics. And why furries? Well, for one thing, I actually like furry art. I think a lot of it is brilliant.
Definitely.
And I said I've become quite fond of the artist Rebel Savant. And the person I was talking to had whipped around like I had just shot them full of electricity. What? I've become fond of the art of a young artist named Rebel Savant. Rebel Savant is my child. Okay.
Wow.
Gee, that was an interesting revelation.
Small world.
Yeah, very small world. And in looking at some of the characters that they were drawing, one of them I made a joke about looks like one of my Fursonas.
You know
what
what
the
the
word?
personas?
Yeah, his name is Blizzle.
I didn't know you had a furry side. It makes sense you have a furry side.
Bluezel is half wolf, half dragon.
Okay, yeah, I could see that.
And, she's sketching, and she had only sketched the top half. And I'm like, yeah, looks like my Fursona. Yeah. And again, same reaction. Grandma? Uh-huh. Well, what does the rest of them look like? And I kind of described them, and she started to sketch. And Bluezel has become a feature in some of their comic art. And as a gift about 5 years ago, as she was just really beginning to start creating, because she's done a few fursuits for friends and pieces and tails and things like that, she created Bluezel for me. And he sits upstairs on my sofa.
Oh, that's epic!
That's one of those little things that most people go, Grandma? Grandma? Mm-hmm.
I've been meeting more members of the Colorado furry community and trying to convince them that, yes, they are indeed welcome in our library. And I want their stuff in our library.
Didn't you ever notice a lot of the pictures on the library website, especially at MSC, where two of my favorite now three, come to MSC, and usually they spend at least one day in their Fursona. And most of the time hang out in the library reading furry comics.
Nice.
Or looking at Danielle's art, which is just as cool. Cool. It fits. It fits a lot.
Yay!
That's what you get from now. You will tell me the rest of it later.
Mm-hmm.